Coming up on today's Wild West, the western side of Denver, Colorado. We'll go behind the chutes of the Denver Rodeo.
Pretty emotional, huh?
Yeah.
Behind the scenes of the Super Bowl of stock shows. You'll discover where your favorite Western store buys all that cool stuff. And we'll show you the resurrection of historic Union Station. Plus, Denver's monument to the legend who brought the West to the world. Today's Wild West is next. The Wild West. It's still out there. And we'll show you how to find it. This is today's Wild West. Welcome to Denver, Colorado, and the National Western Stock Show and Rodeo, held in a city that's a mile high
with a ride of the colors,
with deep roots in the Old West. Like so many Western towns, it all started with a gold rush. Tens of thousands of prospectors came here in the 1850s looking to strike it rich.
This rodeo America.
Cowboys and cowgirls come to Denver every January looking for gold buckles and cash prizes. Here to be won riding broncs and bulls, racing barrels, roping calves, wrestling steers. At the first major pro rodeo of the season.
Oh, it's huge. I've been rodeoing for about 3 years now, and this is my first time here to the stock show. I'm excited.
How about giving those three ladies a warm welcome to the Mile High City?
It's a rodeo wrapped up in a spectacular show and produced by Survey Championship Rodeo.
You just bring the whole circus to town.
Binion Survey and his brother Chase run the company their dad founded in 1967 when he bought out singing cowboy movie star Gene Autry's Wild West show. Today, the Survey brothers produce about 30 rodeos a year, including some of the biggest in the country, like Houston, San Antonio, the national finals in Las Vegas, and Denver. And running a rodeo is a lot like a traveling circus.
People laugh when I say that, but it's very true. It is a traveling show.
The Western Air's horseback drill team kicks off tonight, just one of the equestrian stars providing plenty of action in between the rodeo events.
God bless each and every one of you for your service.
And on this military night, a touching tribute to the men and women of our country's armed forces. A salute that ended with front row fans giving our veterans a personal thank you. For the cowboys and cowgirls who come here to compete, Denver is a very important stop on the rodeo circuit, with all the top stars on hand.
Something I dreamed of when I was a kid. And
like 10-time world bronc riding champion Bradley Harder.
To succeed is have, your priorities in life. Keep God first, then your family, and then rodeo, and everything goes really good. It's whenever I get it out of that order that rodeo doesn't go good. So
I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Eli Vassbinder is a bull rider.
It's almost like getting in a wreck, that time where you almost get in a wreck, but you come out, okay, and them first few seconds, it's kind of like that, I guess, that kind of feeling.
And the reigning Miss Rodeo Colorado is among the queens carrying the flags and spreading her message.
I love educating people about agriculture, the Western heritage, and professional rodeo. I think it's really important that people understand where their food comes from, and there's no better place to do that than being here at the National Western Stock Show.
None of this would happen, of course, without rodeo's four-legged athletes, the broncs and bulls that battle the cowboys, and even the sheep the kids hang on to in that beloved mutton-busting competition.
How about 85 points?
Providing all those animals and making sure they're ready for the show is a big job. I get a sense of just what's involved when I visit the Survey Ranch, 45 miles east of Denver, where on a cold January morning, the Survey crew is sorting and shipping broncs and bulls for that night's show.
Some of these horses we're sorting because we got to bring in another load, and some of these horses have already been bucked twice, so they're going back to the other ranch and they're bringing another load in.
The horses and bulls are only ridden twice during the 29 performance run of the rodeo, and there's no room to keep all those animals at the rodeo arena.
So we house them at our ranch and truck them in and out every day.
He's a buy.
It takes a lot of livestock and lots of work to put on a rodeo. How many bucking horses do you keep?
Oh, we have about 700. We have about 50, 60 bucking bulls.
Up close and personal with these bulls, I'm not sure I'd want to get on their back, but hey, I'm not a rodeo star. However, if you'd like to be, the Surveys will help you get started, free, at their nonprofit Ace High Rough Stock Academy. Offered 3 times a year, it's a 3-day rodeo school for prospective bronc riders held at the Survey Ranch, and they supply everything you need but the courage.
At the end of the 3 days, you know who wants to be a bucking horse rider and who doesn't. I've got about 12 pickup horses.
Back in Denver, Binion's brother Chase is getting his pickup horses ready.
Ready.
The pickup man is the guy who rides to the rescue at the end of a bucking horse ride to get the rider out of harm's way and make sure the bronc's safe as well.
This is Bobby. He's my favorite by far. He's used to everything. He's been around forever, so nothing bothers him, so he's pretty special.
Pickup work can get a little dicey.
Yeah, you've got to be in the right spot at the right time and not get kicked.
But Chase is among the best. He's been chosen to work the national finals 6 times and has also been honored as Pickup Man of the Year.
You've got to always be paying attention. Our animals are our livelihood, so.
The sport of rodeo has its critics, of course.
If they just walked in our shoes for probably a day, they would make a 180, I would guarantee it.
But the Surveys are very proud of how they take care of their animals.
They come first priority before us.
We ask that you remove cover as we call on one of our very own contestants to lead us in prayer.
Rodeo is a great, fun night of entertainment, but it's something more as well.
A lot of important American values in rodeo. Respect, patriotism. And what other event you go to where they start out the event with a prayer?
Rodeo isn't the first show celebrating America's Western heritage. In just a bit, we'll show you the monument to the man who invented the Wild West show. But first, we'll go back to the National Western Stock Show for another competition just as important as the rodeo. Pretty emotional for you.
Very, very. Here's Dad right here.
Jamie Glover's son Tommy has just won Reserve Grand Champion steer at the National Western Stock Show.
Yes, sir. He's the Reserve Grand Champion, so it's pretty exciting. So he's worked real hard this year. I'm super proud of him. So.
Hey, you done real good.
How's it feel?
Good.
For the thousands of young people who raise an animal to show at the local fair, Tommy's accomplishment is like winning the Super Bowl, and he's just 13.
Pretty emotional, huh?
Yeah.
People from more than a dozen states come here to exhibit their prized cow and livestock shows and other animal competitions.
What's it take to have a good stock dog?
A lot of time, a lot of practice.
The stock show began back in 1906, 25 years before the rodeo joined the event. As exciting as the rodeo is, the stock show is the bigger part of the National Western Stock Show. Hundreds of animals of all kinds go through here being shown and sold, including these buffalo. But what's really impressive are all the sharp young people here with their cherished animals, getting them shined up for their moment in the spotlight after months of hard work.
Yes, you learn a lot of life lessons through showing cattle.
You learn how to work hard and never give up.
They learn through the 4-H leaders, they learn through the competition at the local fairs, and the kids that come here are highly trained, but they work an awful lot to get these animals to the status that they are.
This is very important work. After all, if you eat meat, these are the people producing our food supply. Upstairs, a different kind of prized steer, one you can climb on board and pose for a picture at the vendor show. There are booths displaying all kinds of products connected to agriculture, plus lots of cool Western stuff. Our Reserve Grand Champion Tommy could buy himself a present here. His Reserve Grand Champion steer sold for $84,000. And the Grand Champion steer raised by 13-year-old Lily Skiles went for $140,000. Both Lily and Tommy and their steers were honored in downtown Denver with a festive reception at the historic Brown Palace Hotel.
It started 73 years ago, and at that time the managing director had a friend that his steer was the Grand Champion steer. So he said, hey, got an awesome idea.
And the media were out in full force to cover this annual tradition.
You can't make this up?
No, you can't. You can't make, I mean, this is beautiful. It's wonderful.
It feels good.
Yeah?
Very nervous.
Built in 1892 and in business every day since, the Brown Palace Hotel is a splendid example of Denver's beautifully preserved historic buildings. But the project that is the true centerpiece of the city's historic preservation efforts is Union Station.
Most of what you can see in Union Station is original from 1914, including the terrazzo floor.
Connor Murray is our tour guide.
So this great hall itself saw about 20,000 people a day. We're coming in here, about 120 trains.
First built in 1881, Union Station was rebuilt after a devastating 1894 fire, then expanded 20 years later. But over the years, the place fell on hard times and became a bit dilapidated.
So Union Station really was a ghost town for the latter part of its life. In 2005, Denver decided it was going to just demolish Union Station itself and just get rid of it.
But thanks to preservationist Dana Crawford and a $54 million investment of both public and private money, Union Station was spared from the wrecking ball. Renovated, restored, and reopened in 2014, this place, both historic and hip, is thriving, like the Terminal Bar, once a train station ticket booth.
And these are the original ticket windows, so where people would come up and buy their train tickets. They were actually covered over at some point, and this was just sort of used as storage place for several decades. But the architects and designers that we worked with uncovered this and saw all the original windows were here. So we decided to turn it into a beer garden. So the terminal bar is on this side. This is our beer garden. You can grab a beer from here. You can wander around the building. You can have a seat, just sort of relax. It was a way to open the space up.
Upstairs is the upscale Cooper Lounge.
The Cooper Lounge itself is designed after a Pullman cocktail car, one of the old upper echelon speakeasy cars that were attached to the trains.
I think this is one of the most romantic spots in Denver.
Union Station remains a train station. Amtrak stops here twice a day, and the terminal is a hub of the city's light rail and bus system. And visitors can take a train to and from the airport. And in winter, catch the Winter Park Express to a mountain ski resort, where the train stops just steps from the chairlift.
So this room, being one of the classic rooms, is kind of more reminiscent of that Victorian era.
But if you want to savor this place for a while, check into the Crawford Hotel, built within Union Station. The station's history is woven into the design of the rooms.
We took a lot of inspiration from the history of the station itself when we did the renovation.
Including rooms that resemble a Pullman passenger car from back in the day, with a Pullman ad framed on the wall. The basement reveals the building's massive stone foundation, where historic photos and posters adorn areas perfect for meetings, receptions, and other functions. And back upstairs, the place known today as Denver's living room.
The Great Hall, especially when you look down on it from above here, you can see Dana Crawford's vision that this would be a gathering place for a lot of different people.
The resurrection of Union Station has been contagious, sparking the revitalization of the surrounding historic area.
There are about 50,000 people living in this area, and 10 years ago there were about 200.
Travel writer Rich Grant calls Denver home.
People like Denver. Beautiful views, you have 300 days of sunshine.
And is a great tour guide of the city he loves.
In just Lodo, the neighborhood immediately around it, there's 90 bars and restaurants. So it's kind of like an old west town. There's no shortage of saloons. Well, the trains went right down these streets. People didn't mind having a railroad come right in the middle of the city, so they're all now outdoor cafes, but originally these were the loading docks for these warehouses.
There are more than 100 historic buildings in the area surrounding Union Station, all made of brick.
In 1862, the city was all wood structures and it burned to the ground, so they passed a law every building in Denver had to be brick or stone.
Once targeted for demolition and redevelopment, the old warehouses have been restored and transformed to apartments, shops, restaurants, and bars, like the one that houses the Evu Marketplace, Denver's first stagecoach station.
Yeah, Wells Fargo. This whole facade has been in place ever since then.
There it is back in the day.
I know. That's incredible.
Wandering the neighborhood, you'll see original wood floors, beams, and other highlights of this vintage area, which includes a beloved Western treasure with a fascinating history all its own, Rockmount Ranchware.
I've always been a fan of Rockmount Western wear.
I probably own a dozen.
These are the most amazing shirts you could get anywhere. Because they're unusual. You can't get anything like this anywhere. Thanks so much.
Housed in a building built in 1909, Rockmount was founded in 1946 by Jack Weil, better known as Papa Jack. He created what we know today as the classic Western shirt.
It's the longest running shirt design in America, the sawtooth pocket, the diamond snap. There's no longer running shirt design, and this is our roots, and it's our signature design.
But that essential design comes in all kinds of creative flavors, colors, and material, like flannel, fleece, Hawaiian, and more.
We never know what's going to stick or what isn't, but we like to try new things all the time. And my grandfather, up to the age of 107, was like that.
Steve credits Papa Jack's creative zest for his rich, long life.
I loved what he did, and he kept it fresh.
Hollywood long ago discovered Rockmount, and the list of celebrities who own Rockmount is too long to name, but includes Paul McCartney, Bob Dylan, Robert Plant, and many more.
You never know who's going to walk in or send an email. It could be a guy from Dubuque, or it could be Eric Clapton.
As company president, Steve now follows the footsteps of both his own father and Papa Jack, with a fourth-generation nephew working in the business as well.
We like trying things with a twist all the time.
And the creative designs just keep coming.
A flag-inspired garment, and it's tasteful. And so our whole thing is how do we come up with a way to do this that you're not a billboard, it's not wearing you, but it's interesting, young people like this, so we got it right. This is Jerry Garcia all over the place. And, it takes a special person to wear that.
Rockmount's history has inspired 2 books, Steve's history of the business and the book he wrote about his beloved grandfather, Ask Papa Jack, Wisdom of the World's Oldest CEO. And Rockmount snap button shirts have even inspired a song.
Well, here's a man who made the cowboy proud.
From Grammy-nominated singer-songwriter Joyce Woodson.
I'm driving to a friend's house. I'm going, that Jack, thank Jack for the snap. For the snap. Oh, shoot. And I had to pull the car over. And I just went, thank Jack for the snap on my cowboy shirt. And I went, that's a swing song if ever I heard one.
So thank Jack for the snap.
Joyce dropped in at the Rockmount store for a special performance at a store with both a rich history and a bright future.
To me, that's the sign of success when there's a shirt in your closet that you've had for years and you just love it. We hear from people who've had a shirt 20 years and they wonder if we have more fabric so they can patch it. And I tell them, how do you expect us to stay in business if you don't get a new one?
Denver has long been the center of the Western fashion world. We'll show you where your favorite Western store goes to shop when today's Wild West continues. Whether it's cowboys or Indians, boots, bling, or boots with bling.
These are the chameleon effect boots, so this one turns a pinkish red color in the sun.
If it's Western, it's for sale in January.
He was just very, very talented, all self-taught, and did literally hundreds of paintings.
At WESA, the Western and English Sales Association, on 4 floors of the Denver Mart Complex in Colorado.
This is our first time here.
Oh, it is? What do you think?
It was amazing. Overwhelming, amazing, but a very big learning experience. So I'd definitely be back.
WESA is the biggest Western wholesale market in the country. Retailers come here from all over the country and around the world to buy most anything you can imagine for their Western stores. And if it's not here, it doesn't exist.
The 750 exhibitors include the best-known brands in the Western world, which features some of the world's best-known brands.
If you mention a hat, the first thing that somebody says is a Stetson.
A former rodeo bull rider, General Manager Ricky Boland's been wearing a cowboy hat since he was 3 years old.
We're American-made.
And he's very proud of his iconic brand.
Top of the line, probably the best hat, without a doubt, that you can put on your head.
The Stetson brand is also a top-quality apparel line for both men and women that includes some very nice buckles and cowboy boots.
Stetson is such a classic brand, so we always try to stay really true to classic detailing and kind of Western heritage, but the Stetson customer is also very fashion-forward and knows the trends and isn't afraid to spend the money on really classic, good pieces. So we want to make sure that the pieces seem kind of modern and young and have a certain trend aspect to them, but then also speak to the classic Western customer.
Models hit the runway with the latest designs at the very fun Friday night Western fashion show. It's a chance for apparel makers to display their new offerings to retailers wanting a look at the many cool takes on Western wear. And the creativity you'll find at WESA is pretty impressive.
Hand-cut leather feathers so that it looks as if they're feathers, but they're all hand-cut. On the back, it goes down in a V and has the black beaded fringe. And then it just slips over her shoulder, and there's absolutely no fit to this. It just totally changes her look.
As Pat Danke can show you, Western fashion includes much more than just our beloved jeans, boots, and hats.
So I want to be a feminine cowgirl with romantic lace and leathers.
Leather and lace, fringe, feathers, and deerskin are among the ingredients that Designs by Pat transforms into romantic outfits sure to get a cowgirl some attention.
So she has a grouping of feathers. We even have feathers in her hair.
Pat built the business herself, one stitch at a time.
I had to quit my job teaching school because I had a baby, and so I had to be able to earn a living. So I got out the sewing machine and started sewing. And we make the entire bed, and when we make the entire bed of this, we love those rustic edges and the fringe.
48 years later, with cowgirl spirit, the rest is history.
You just show up, you don't quit. I don't care what happens. You just show up and you keep going, you keep smiling, you keep selling. Listen to people and give them what they want.
The beautiful, timeless, and ever-popular work of Native American artists is here as well, conveniently available at Deer Track Traders.
Pottery, jewelry, beadwork, about anything the Indians make except babies, we sell.
Alpine Rodman and his family have been trading with the Lakota, Navajo, and many other tribal nations for 4 generations.
For it to be good, it has to be good for everyone.
Rodman says he offers the artists a reliable market where they can sell everything they make while offering customers all over the world authentic, native-made products.
Yes, it is. It's Native American made, it's authentic. You can make a look-alike product, but you can't make a Native American product if you're not a Native American.
You know, I like authentic stuff.
Kurt Hahn is here to buy for his Western store back in Switzerland, where his customers include Russians, Germans, Arabs, and others who want to own their piece of the real American West.
And here I can find exactly what I need, what I like to sell to my customers.
And while this weekend is all about business, the Western business can be pretty darn fun. As the music of Eli Barcy reminded everyone on the 4th floor. After all, we're talking about all that cool stuff it takes to outfit the Western lifestyle and everything that goes with it.
Thank you.
Like commemorative belt buckles.
And to have it on for the first time.
And the one awarded during WESA to the new Miss Rodeo Canada. Montana's Silversmiths has long provided the trophy buckles for the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, Miss Rodeo America, and countless other Western events and organizations. And as anyone who's ever earned that trophy can tell you, it's a lot more than just a belt buckle.
It really has an emotional tie. There's something about a buckle that tells such a great story.
Buckles, boots, bling, Native American culture, so much cool stuff goes with the Western lifestyle. Of course, everybody looks better in a cowboy hat. But just what started this love of the West so many of us share? We'll visit the monument to the man who had a lot to do with that when today's Wild West continues. High above the city of Denver, at an aptly named place called Lookout Mountain, you'll find the gravesite of a man who still influences the world, even though he died more than 100 years ago.
I think one of the reasons people live on after they're gone is because they had such an impact on culture. I think Buffalo Bill changed our culture. He made the world fall in love with the West.
Though he was born long after Buffalo Bill died, Bill Carl grew up with the Western legend. Just steps away from Cody's gravesite, Carl runs the gift shop that his family has operated off and on since 1956, next door to the Buffalo Bill Museum. The museum's fascinating collection is the subject of a book by retired museum director Steve Friesen, a collection that includes some very unusual items.
This is my personal favorite right here. It's a plaster mold of his hand that was taken at death. It was fairly common in those days. This was in a showcase. I had to wash the showcase glass when I was little. That thing freaked me out.
Many of the museum's artifacts are from Buffalo Bill's Wild West, the show that toured the U.S. and Europe for decades in the late 1800s and early 1900s. But Buffalo Bill never called it a show.
Bridal was presented to him by King Edward VII.
To him, it was an exhibition of the Wild West.
The West, as he knew it, disappeared in maybe 15 years. Cody lamented all those losses, and he wanted to teach us about what he had seen and what had disappeared.
Performed in huge arenas in front of thousands of people, Cody's Wild West featured one of the last surviving herds of buffalo, stagecoach attacks, Lakota Indians, cowboys, and celebrities of the day, like sharpshooter Annie Oakley and the great Sioux chief Sitting Bull, who toured with the Wild West for one season.
We have a very good collection, and one of the things that makes ours stand out is that it was founded with the last items that Buffalo Bill owned.
The museum's founding collection was the property of Johnny Baker, Buffalo Bill's foster son. It includes Sitting Bull's bow and arrows and his magnificent headdress. You'll also see the headdress of Short Bull and Iron Tail. Iron Tail, who performed with the Wild West for years, was one of Buffalo Bill's best friends. Cody, a man who'd once fought Indians, became known as their friend and advocate, whose show helped preserve their way of life.
It was at a time when they were trying to take their culture away from them, and Cody was trying to preserve it. Cody gave those folks a job when nobody else would. He allowed them to show the world their customs.
The scout, plainsman, Civil War soldier, and showman was also an advocate for women's rights and paid women performers of the Wild West, like trick riders Lulu Parr and Goldie Griffith, the same as the men.
He was very close to Susan B. Anthony, and he often spoke about how women should have the right to vote.
As you look at the rare show posters and Buffalo Bill's buckskin outfits, saddles, and firearms, you'll also learn about the character of this man, who despite struggles, hardships, and adversity, never gave up.
I mean, this was the kind of person he was, full of optimism, full of hope.
He was the most famous person of his day, wasn't he?
He absolutely was. Steve Friesen called him the Elvis of his time.
When Buffalo Bill died in 1917, the city of Denver put on the kind of state funeral usually reserved for presidents, and people have been flocking to his grave here on Lookout Mountain ever since.
He lived the life, the dream of the American West.
The legacy of Buffalo Bill still lives on in many ways, including this very show you're watching. That's it for now. We're back next time with more cool stuff from today's Wild West. I'm Mark Bedore. We'll see you down the trail. For more information on the people and places featured in today's Wild West, or to order show DVDs and books, visit todayswildwest.com. Funding for Today's Wild West provided by the Leggett Foundation and the Chuck Wagon Trail Riders Foundation.